to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The U.S. national anthem being sung by the January 6th choir. And who is the January 6th choir, you may ask? Well, they were a bunch of people who were, quote unquote, peacefully protesting the results, or at the time, on the day in question, January 6, 2021, the certification of the 2020 election, where the then President Joe Biden's election win was being certified, or cemented at least. But I will say, January 6th, 2021, what a day that was. People walking down to the Capitol in droves and then later clashing with Capitol Police, kicking, screaming, punching, fighting, spraying, banging, breaking and entering, trespassing, stealing, bragging, loitering, declaring, watching, running, protesting, taking photos, but overall following. Fight like hell, he said. We're going to walk down to the Capitol and I'll be there with you, he said. We love you. You're very special, he said. Ciao. But who am I talking about? Well, depending on your take/perspective of the day in question and said events of said day, some would say a sore loser, others would take it a step further and say a cult leader, but I don't know. But no, it was the then, or should I say now, in 2025, again, President of the United States, the Cheeto, 45, 47, Donald Trump, whatever we're calling him these days, I don't know. To me, he will always be the Cheeto. What? There's no law that says I have to call him the president, and besides, I'll just start laughing every time I have to say it. But, I will say this, however, the kind of hold he has over his supporters and how the majority, if not all, but the majority of them just takes whatever he says and or does like it's gospel from God himself. It just screams cult leader to me. It just screams cult leader to me. Okay, but he's not the only one. I mean, a lot of groups can be classified as quote unquote cults these days. And with all this talk about groups, cliques, tribes, organizations, cults, and what is the difference between one and the other, baby, let's talk about it, shall we? All of it, in full and depth. But for all intents and purposes, we're just going to talk about tribes and cults. Simple, right, shall we? But let's start with tribes. But what is a tribe? Okay, now a tribe is a social division within a traditional society consisting of families or communities linked by social, economic, religious, and or blood ties, with a common culture and dialect, typically having a recognized leader. Now, tribes have been around since the beginning of all time. In fact, tribes are how humans first formed what we have now as nations. We'll get into that in a bit. Now, tribes had 4 initial categories/tiers. You have first the hunter-gatherer band societies made up of about roughly 30 to 50 folks, where the power structure was egalitarian, or they prioritized social equality/equity for all, so to speak. And then they had the more tribal societies with limited social ranks/prestige and, leadership, generally specializing in horticulture. The first little signs of, what would you call it? Oh yeah, nepotism. And then after that came chiefdoms, or stratified tribal societies represented or organized by a chief, usually based on kinship. Real nepotism. And these were often monopolized by legitimate senior members of select families or houses. Cronyism. And then finally, there is what we have now, which is civilizations, which are complex societies with hierarchical social classes of divisions of labor, ruling elites, and urban and rural populations. Again, basically what the hell we have now. It's amazing how money, power, status, and glory can change things. Now, tribes are usually brought together by cultural mechanisms, or at least they were brought by cultural mechanisms back then, like spring fishing, ceremonial and religious gatherings, during which the different bands and villages of whichever said tribe created bands with one another to later be used in times of hardship or to call upon in defense against a common foe. Other times, the bands and villages of said tribes, they were often independent of one another, much like the states of the U.S. or in many countries of Africa, since Africa is a continent, not a single country. Had to emphasize that. I'm so sorry. Had to reiterate that one for the bitches in the back or the peanut gallery or people who just don't know. Let me say that again. Africa is a continent full of many countries, not a single country entirely. Moving on. Now, this concept of independence/autonomy was very consistent even back then when villages had to make decisions. Each leader from each village would come together to make a tribal council to make decisions. Now, the tribal council functioned like a governing body of a tribe, but they didn't have the power to compel individual communities to follow a uniform course of action. Simply put, if the individual community did not want to follow the policies of a tribe, they didn't have to. I know, nice, right? However, as times changed, tribes were more or less coerced into being a unified single governing body, as the U.S. made treaties with the Indian tribes since they, the quote-unquote U.S., they only wanted to work with one single governing body as opposed to, dealing with many. Or they just wanted to see one person from the council rather than having to go through every single person. Again, thanks, right? But this also includes consolidating themselves into reservations, so to speak, instead of being, stretched out into multiple communities along excessive territories of land. Again, just wow. I mean, take the case of the Menominee tribe, whose communities once stretched from the Green Bay to the Wisconsin River, but in 1856 moved to a reservation along the Wolf River. Was it manifest destiny or early gentrification? You decide. However, not all tribes followed this blueprint. Other tribes, like the Ojibwe tribe, they kept all their separate locations, from 6 different ones in the Wisconsin alone to the other bands in Michigan, Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana, and Canada. Look at that. Nevertheless, the tribe was still considered a single tribe as they share a common culture, language, history, and customs. Other tribes, like the Haudenosaunee tribes of Wisconsin and Nebraska, respectively, are split politically and consider themselves separate and apart from one another. Isn't that something? Now, tribes in modern times, they still do exist. Yes, they do. Some are reclusive and live in remote areas of the world, almost uncontacted by the outside world. I mean, take the Akasha tribes in Laos, with rituals and laws passed down from their ancestors, i.e. animal sacrifices or bad luck, and a language all their own that isn't written down. Isn't that something? They live high in the mountains without a paved road. Now, this may seem extreme in a way, right? But I don't know. It's how tribes preserve their customs, cultures, and traditions, and it gives them stability and direction. Now, uncontacted tribes are, on one hand, they're isolated from the world community by choice out of fear of exploitation or conflict, and on the other hand, they're isolated out of the need to hold on to their self-determination as people. Only I had the option. Oh well. Anyways, tribes nowadays also suffer decline and loss of cultural identity as a result of their intertwining with the world. I mean, you can't stay isolated forever. Believe me, try. But others, however, have adapted to the new political context and have transformed their cultures and their practices in order to survive. An example of this are Native American tribes who have a domestic, independent nation status within the territory of the United States with a government-to-government relationship within the federal government. Native Americans are like, Native American tribes, they're just like states in a sense. Yeah, Native American tribes are like states in a sense, yet they barely make up just 1% of the total U.S. population, or 2%. I don't know, but simply put, Native American tribes, they're like states, okay? They have their own independent, autonomous status, but they still work within the confines of the laws of the U.S. American federal government. Isn't that something? But then there are tribes that are just completely made up. I mean, take the Kingdom of Koala tribe, or Kohala tribe. A tribe comprised of a husband and wife duo, or the king and queen, King Athene and Queen Nandi. I hope they're getting their names right. And their quote-unquote handmaiden, Corla Taylor, or Cara Taylor, or a snut, so to speak, who is a 21-year-old American citizen missing from Texas. This quote-unquote tribe believes that the land where they reside, which is a woodland area in Scotland on the outskirts of Jedburgh, it belongs to their forefathers, and they are simply reclaiming the heritage, the lost land, and the lost tribe for their ancestors. And also the land and the earth belongs to the creator of the heavens and the earth. Nobody belongs to the earth apart from the king of Koala. Wow. Like, you had me and then you lost me, Your Highness. I mean, I was like, yes! And I was like, what? Now, there are reports that the handmaiden is being groomed, forced to be a slave, etc., etc. But according to her own words, it is her calling. She is there of her own free will, and it's her purpose. It's what she was created to do. Again, just wow. Wow. Did not have this on my bingo card for 2025, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, the fact that there's just only 3 of them, and they have such a small space, and one of them is not the same as the other 2. I mean, 2 Africans, 1 American. It seems from the outside looking in, it looks more like the makings of a quote-unquote cult than a quote-unquote tribe. And with that being said, let's move on to cults, shall we? Now, cults are defined as social groups which have unusual and often extreme beliefs and rituals with a particular person, object, and or goal being devoted to profusely. And from the classic religious cults of offshore mainstream religions offering brand new dogmas or theologies, and the doomsday cults preparing for the alleged imminent end of the world, to the sex cults full of rampant sexual behavior and or abuse, and the political cults from the far left or right stemming from extremist views/beliefs. Cults are something else. I will tell you, cults are just something else. But what is a cult really? A bunch of devoted people following a sole person around blindly with no free will/control, doing whatever the person in question asks the quote-unquote devotees, members, fans, etc., to do without doubt and or question or wonder? Yes. And no. I mean, let's I mean, are the Barbs, the Swifties, and the Beehive, are they cults? Maybe, but nah, they're just a different kind of devoted. I mean, they're just canceling people left and right who say something bad against their folks. That's something. I mean, Are Christians, Muslims, and Jews in cults? Or are they just cult groups? Nah, they're just devoted to the Lord they serve. Differently in some cases. Oh yeah, are MAGA supporters, Make America Great Again supporters, a cult? No. And yes. What? I mean, let's look at the facts. I mean, everything the Cheeto has done and said, then and now, and they're still standing by him. Okay, that might just be extreme loyalty and devotion, but come on, telling people to ingest bleach to kill a deadly virus, I mean, that's classic doomsday cult behavior / scenario. That's a classic aspect. Granted, most of them just cold poison control to see if it was true or not. Okay, bad example. But, oh yeah, let's go back to the top of the episode, shall we? January 6, 2021, the assault on the Capitol. And, you know, all that happened just because, you know, the Cheeto lost the 2020 election and he couldn't accept it. I mean, that's a conspiracy theory that the election was rigged for Joe Biden and his people / his supporters. They believed it and they went to the Capitol and they tried to overthrow the government as a result. See? Classic cult behavior. But wait, hold on. What about the left? What about Luigi Mangione and the people following him? No, wait, that's just a cult following. Oh, wait, what about the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Wait, that's just a cult. That's just a cult classic film. God, what are we talking about here? Oh yes, cults, social groups, yes. Oh, but speaking of, how about Waco, Texas? And the the deadly standoff between Texas law enforcement and a religious cult, the Branch Davidians, led by David Koresh. Oh yeah. And how the fact that the Cheeto held a rally on that day of that siege, where he played the infamous Jan 6 choir singing the national anthem. How about that? That was just a mere coincidence? Was it? I don't know. Possibly? Maybe? How about everything going on Epstein? How about everything else that's actually happened as a result? How about this? How about that? Oh gosh. Is it a full circle moment? Is it this? Is it... I'm sorry, we're out of time. What? Yeah, we're out of time. I'm so sorry, but we're gonna have to leave it here for now with tribes and cults. Oh, members. Attention members. Yes, it is now time for us to take our pilgrimage through the Holy Land. Come, let's go, get in the bus. All right, I just gotta finish this episode right quick, okay? All right, but before I go find a long-lost tribe, or before I go ahead and enroll in this cult right quick, because, you know, it is the end of the world as we know it, or as I know it anyways, a few things. Number one, tribes are, they're social groups that have cultures, traditions, rituals, and a history spanning generations, centuries, and multiple states / countries. In some instances, I mean, cults, on the other hand, they're just social groups that are, that have, conspiracy theories, practices, beliefs, and history spanning hours, months, days, and maybe years, if they're lucky. Number two, tribes, they can be preserved forever. Cults, they can be killed instantly, unlike a conspiracy that started them in most instances. And number three, tribes and people you know, love, share things. You know, tribes, they're people you know, they love, and, you know, that you share things with. Cults, they're, you know, with people you never met, talked to, or even like. Same could be said about tribes. I don't know, but, oh yeah. Main thing, cults fade, they die even. Tribes, they die hard, but they last forever. Under a new name. I think, yeah, that's tribes, or cults, or tribes, or cults. I don't know, there's a difference. I'll see y'all later, or I don't know, I'll see y'all above or below, but we'll talk about that later. Gotta go. Do 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 do. I'm coming, y'all. Do do